I don't have a really catchy phrase to get you to want to stay, and I don't got something that's going to make you not want to scroll. You'll have to decide that for yourself. So I'm just going to be straightforward and tell you where I am and what we're doing, and you can decide for yourself. You're an adult if this is a video that you want to watch. I want to talk to you about Paul, and I'm going to be in the book of Acts, and it's going to be chapter 26. And I'm going to give you Tracy's commentary on what I see. And I'm also going to talk to you for a second about Paul, give you just a little bit of background, and tell you some things I used to think about Paul when I was a kid. So Paul was Saul before he decided to use the name Paul. God didn't change his name to Paul. He had two names that he legally went by, and he chose to go by the name Paul. Saul was what he went by before he had an encounter with Christ. And I personally think he didn't want to identify with that side of himself, that part of himself that killed Christians. I don't know any other way to say it. So Paul, when he was Saul, would persecute Christians. And in particular, there's a story of him persecuting Stephen and holding the jackets of the people while they stoned him to death. And as a matter of fact, when he has an encounter with Jesus, he is on his way to kill Christians, to bring letters that permits people to kill Christians. And so before I start this story, I also want to remind you that Paul knew. He knew exactly what it was going to take and how the courts would interpret his actions and his behaviors and what he was doing. And he knew what the punishment was going to be. And he knew what the verdict would be for the things he was doing. He knew when he spread the gospel that there was a whole group of people, and he knew the law about how they interpreted it, and he knew exactly what the punishment was going to be and how they would spin all of it. He knew these things. So when Paul talks to King Agrippa in Acts 26, it really touches my heart. So I'm going to give you Tracy's country commentary on it, and I'm also going to just read it to you because sometimes I think it's just good just to read the word together. My papa used to say when I was a kid, he would say that this was how you broke bread now with people. So in chapter 26 in Acts, verse 1, if you want to read it, you're welcome to. But it starts off and it says, "So Agrippa said to Paul, 'You have permission to speak for yourself.' Then Paul stretched out his hands and made this defense. 'I consider myself fortunate that it is before you, King Agrippa, that I am going to make my defense today against all the accusations of the Jews, especially because you are familiar with the customs and the controversies of the Jews. Therefore, I beg you to listen to me patiently.'" And I love that Paul doesn't say anything disrespectful to him, but he's like, "I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share the gospel with you, King Agrippa." And then he's like, "Just be patient with me while I tell it to you." And so that's what I'm asking you. Just be patient with me while we go through this.